Imagine a man with supernatural wounds, visions of both angels and demons, and a life dedicated to faith who warns about a specific year in the future, 2025. Meet Padre Pio, a man who could predict the future and carried deep secrets that continue to mystify people to this day. His life was filled with miracles, strange visions, and even battles with forces we can't see. But most shocking of all is what Padre Pio might have predicted about the year 2025, a year that now has everyone talking. Padre Pio wasn't just any ordinary priest. He had something no one else did, the stigmata. Imagine having the same wounds as Jesus Christ, the holes in his hands and feet, the wound in his side. These marks appeared on Padre Pio's body, and he lived with this pain for over 50 years. People were stunned and confused. The curiosity doesn't stop there. He could see things others couldn't. He claimed to have visions of Jesus and Mary. But there was a darker side to his life. He also spoke of terrifying encounters with evil spirits that tried to bring him down. Yet, through all of these incredible experiences, he stayed focused on one thing: helping people. Over 50 years after Padre Pio's death, he left behind a mysterious prediction. He wasn't just known for his predictions or the stigmata. Intense suffering marked his entire life. Despite being in constant pain, he never stopped helping others. People traveled from all corners of the world just to meet him, believing that he could heal them with his prayers. And many claimed he did. He wasn't only concerned with healing people's bodies, he cared deeply about their souls. He would spend long hours every day listening to confessions, guiding people toward forgiveness and a better life. For him, the spiritual world was as real as the one we live in, and it was his mission to bring others closer to God. In the final moments of his life, Padre Pio said something that has puzzled believers and experts alike. He hinted at something big, something that would happen far in the future. Some believe it might be a warning about a disaster or a massive event that could change everything. Others believe it might be a spiritual awakening, a call for the world to turn back to faith before it's too late. By the time he became a priest, Padre Pio had already begun experiencing strange physical phenomena. His health, fragile since childhood, worsened dramatically. He suffered from severe fevers and illnesses that no doctor could explain. But the most shocking event of all occurred in 1918, when he was just 31 years old. The stigma, or the wounds of Christ, struck Padre Pio as he kneeled in prayer before a crucifix. Imagine for a moment the overwhelming physical agony that comes with bearing the same wounds Jesus suffered during the crucifixion. The stigmata appeared on Padre Pio's hands, feet, and side, bleeding and causing him excruciating pain for the next 50 years. Yet, despite this incredible suffering, Padre Pio never wavered in his faith. Instead, his wounds became a symbol of his connection to the divine and his role as a bridge between heaven and earth. Even the Catholic Church wasn't sure what to believe at first. In fact, the Vatican was so uncertain about Padre Pio's stigmata that they launched several investigations into its authenticity. Despite these challenges, Padre Pio remained committed to serving others. He spent long hours hearing confessions, offering advice, and praying for those who sought his help. People came from all over the world, hoping to receive a blessing or a word of wisdom from the man who seemed to have one foot in the spiritual world. By the 1950s, Padre Pio had become a global sensation, with thousands flocking to his small monastery in San Giovanni Rotondo to catch a glimpse of the priest who bore Christ's wounds. While Padre Pio's life may seem like a remarkable story of faith, it also carries a warning. Throughout his years of suffering, Padre Pio hinted that the world might be facing a greater battle. Could his suffering and spiritual connection have prepared him for something greater? This question becomes more pressing as we near 2025, the year associated with his enigmatic prophecy. In 1968, just days before his death on September 23rd, Padre Pio seemed to sense that his time was coming to an end. He had spent over 50 years bearing the pain of the stigmata, and in the final months of his life, these wounds began to disappear. Though his earthly mission was complete, what had he left behind? Many believe that Padre Pio saw something beyond his lifetime, something that involves us all. His warnings about spiritual warfare and the struggle between good and evil are as relevant today as they were during his lifetime. Spiritual warfare refers to the unseen battle between forces of good, like God and his angels, and the forces of evil, represented by Satan and his demons. Instead of using weapons or armies, we fight this battle through temptation, suffering, and faith. Most of us experience these struggles internally, experiencing moments of temptation to act wrongly or encountering challenges that undermine our faith. But for Padre Pio, the fight was much more intense. It was real, physical, and terrifying. From a very young age, Padre Pio experienced strange, frightening encounters. He often described physical attacks by dark figures, which he identified as demons, in his letters to his spiritual advisors. These entities weren't just there to frighten him. The goal was to break his spirit and doubt his faith and mission. According to one account, these demonic forces beat him so severely that they left him bruised and bloodied, unable to move. These attacks often happened at night, when Padre Pio would be alone in his small, humble cell. Can you imagine the terror of awakening in the darkness, experiencing a sense of suffocation or the presence of evil? Yet no matter how terrifying these moments were, Padre Pio never gave in to fear. Instead, he prayed. His prayer was so intense that he said it felt like God would shield him from the darkness. In addition to bearing the stigmata, Padre Pio experienced powerful visions of Christ, the Virgin Marie, and angels throughout his life. It's believed that because of his closeness to God, he became a prime target for the forces of evil. To the devil, a man like Padre Pio posed a significant threat. His faith inspired millions, and his miracles drew people closer to God. By attacking Padre Pio, these evil forces weren't just trying to harm one man, they were attempting to undermine the faith of all those who followed him. The devil's strategy was to isolate Padre Pio, to make him feel abandoned and defeated. But each time, Padre Pio found strength through his prayers, turning these attacks into opportunities to deepen his faith. We too are part of this unseen battle between good and evil. Every time we face a challenge or are tempted to turn away from what's right, we are fighting in our own spiritual war. And just like Padre Pio, we can find strength through prayer, faith, and perseverance. While we may not experience the same intense physical attacks, the battle for our souls is just as real. Padre Pio didn't fight these battles alone, and neither should we. He relied heavily on spiritual weapons to defend himself and overcome the darkness that tried to consume him. His main weapon? Prayer. Padre Pio believed deeply in the power of prayer, not just as a way to speak to God, but as a shield against evil. He spent hours each day in prayer, even during his most painful moments. Another critical part of Padre Pio's defense was his unwavering faith. No matter how dark things seemed, he never let go of his belief in God's power to protect him. He also used the sacraments, especially confession and the Eucharist, as tools to strengthen his spirit and renew his connection to God. Interestingly, Padre Pio also placed great importance on the role of angels in this battle. He believed that each person had a guardian angel who could help them in times of need. In fact, Padre Pio would often tell people to send their guardian angels to him with prayer requests, believing that these heavenly beings would act as messengers and protectors. From early childhood, Padre Pio spoke of strange and wondrous occurrences. As a young boy, he would talk about seeing angels and the Virgin Mary. At the time, he thought this was something everyone experienced. Imagine his surprise when he discovered these incredible visions were rare. This connection to the mystical world didn't fade as he grew older. It became stronger, more intense, and often more frightening. Padre Pio's mystical visions were not only filled with light and beauty, they also carried messages of hope and warnings from beyond. One of the most remarkable aspects of his life was how frequently he encountered the divine. He spoke of seeing Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and even his guardian angel. These visions were not brief, fleeting moments. They were often vivid and detailed, providing Padre Pio with comfort and guidance during his many trials. For instance, during some of his darkest moments, when he was racked with pain from the stigmata or tormented by evil forces, Padre Pio described seeing Christ. One vision depicts Jesus appearing before him, providing him with both solace and strength. These visions weren't just comforting, they were life-changing. They gave Padre Pio the courage to endure his intense physical and spiritual suffering. Among Padre Pio's many visions, there were also glimpses of the future, prophetic moments that left him and those around him in awe. The belief that Padre Pio may have foreseen future events, including the mysterious 2025 prediction, is one of the most intriguing aspects of his mystical experiences. Many believe that Padre Pio received knowledge of yet-to-occur events, despite the unclear details of this prophecy. Throughout history, prophets and mystics have been able to see beyond the present, often offering warnings or guidance about the future. Padre Pio was no different. His visions of the future weren't just about predicting events. They were about guiding people toward faith, urging them to prepare for what's to come. Could his vision of 2025 be one of these warnings? Did he intend it to guide us through a future brimming with spiritual challenges? These are the questions that haunt those who study Padre Pio's life and legacy. One of the most comforting aspects of Padre Pio's mystical life was his belief in the presence of angels. For him, angels were not abstract beings, but real, tangible helpers who guided and protected him throughout his life. In fact, Padre Pio often spoke of his own guardian angel, who would appear to him in moments of need, providing both comfort and assistance in his battle against evil. He even encouraged others to turn to their guardian angels in times of trouble, believing that these heavenly beings were always nearby, ready to offer protection. People would often write to Padre Pio, asking for prayers, and he would tell them to send their guardian angels to him with their requests. This strong belief in the power of angels wasn't just comforting, it was a cornerstone of Padre Pio's spirituality, offering a glimpse into the unseen forces that he believed were constantly at work in the world around us. But these angelic encounters weren't just for protection. Padre Pio believed that angels played a role in communicating messages from heaven. Through them, he believed he received divine guidance, which helped him navigate the challenges and spiritual warfare that defined his life. His belief in angels as messengers and protectors shows just how deeply connected he felt to the mystical world. If you're liking this content and wanting to see more deep dives into mysterious stories like Padre Pio's, go ahead and click that super thanks button. By supporting us, you're helping us create more captivating videos and bringing more intriguing topics to life. Your support keeps us going and encourages us to dig even deeper into the stories that matter to you. Padre Pio's story isn't just about his own personal journey, it's a reminder for all of us. In a world that often seems increasingly chaotic and uncertain, his life serves as a call to stay strong in our beliefs, to never lose hope and to remain connected to something greater than ourselves. Whether we're facing personal struggles or feeling overwhelmed by the problems of the world, Padre Pio's example shows us that faith can be the anchor that keeps us steady. More importantly, his life emphasizes the power of prayer. In every situation, whether he was battling demonic forces or comforting someone in need, Padre Pio turned to prayer as his greatest weapon. No matter our challenges, we can learn from his story to pray and stay connected to our faith. His visions also remind us that the world is more than what we can see. There are forces at play, both good and evil, that shape our lives in ways we may not always understand. Padre Pio understood this better than most, and his life served as a testament to the significance of spiritual preparation for the unseen battles that confront us. The prediction associated with 2025 is the most unsettling aspect of Padre Pio's story. Although we don't know exactly what he foresaw, the sense of mystery and urgency surrounding that year is undeniable. Is it a warning of a future disaster, a global spiritual awakening, or perhaps something else entirely? What we do know is that Padre Pio's life was filled with prophetic moments, and his insight into the future often left those around him in awe. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.